In my previous existence, the day my sight vanished and I plummeted from a building, my fiancée was embracing her first love on the hospital roof. When she witnessed my broken form below, a belated realization dawned upon her. Her supposed profound emotions were as insignificant as blades of grass. It was you who stood by me as I painstakingly rebuilt my life from nothing, yet I allowed myself to be captivated by him. I observed her anguish with disdain, a tear of self-mockery tracing a path down my cheek. After my rebirth, her first love kissed her passionately, a sneer directed at my past foolish hopes. He was certain that even stripped of her current circumstances, she would inevitably achieve great success and wealth in the future. Little did he know that future was inextricably linked to my past efforts. The person he so confidently believed in was, without my support, merely a reckless and overly ambitious failure. On the 7th day, confined to the sterile hospital bed, the world a perpetual darkness. Even with my eyes open, I believe I had begun to acclimate to my blindness, a consequence of the car accident. Perhaps my early awakening had left me restless, as Tina was absent from the room. In the hallway, the hushed tones of 2 nurses on duty drifted in, their gossip a cruel intrusion. "Tina and Eric make such a charming couple," one murmured. That proposal was the talk of the town. The way Eric knelt, it gave me flashbacks to those schoolyard confession moments. "Aren't you from the same school as Tina?" the other replied. "I heard the guy lying blind in that hospital bed is Tina's actual fiancé." "Him?" "At most, he's just a persistent admirer, the kind who clings on. He got to enjoy a few good years with the new wealth, but it went to his head, to the point he doesn't even recognize his folks now. People like that deserve what they get, like losing their sight." "Let me tell you," the first nurse continued, her voice conspiratorial. "Tina spends this time every day on the rooftop with Eric. The two are crazy about each other." I bit down hard on my lip, a suffocating pain constricting my chest, as if a blade were meticulously carving into my vital organs. I fought back the urge to sob aloud. The woman who had whispered promises of celebrating my birthday upon my awakening had already sought solace in the arms of her old flame. A torrent of memories flooded my mind, sharp and relentless, shattering my last vestiges of defense. That grand proposal, the image of them together, seemingly perfect, a match made in heaven. What did that make me? A pathetic joke. I blindly felt my way off the bed, stumbling almost immediately over a chair, a sharp pain shooting up my knee. The nurse stationed at the door must have heard the commotion, yet she offered no assistance, their muffled laughter and feigned ignorance a familiar sting. They left together, their footsteps fading down the hallway. I was accustomed to this neglect. My body was a canvas of bruises and marks from countless unseen obstacles. The nurses maintained their practiced indifference, and Tina was always busy, her visits fleeting, a cursory glance before she rushed back to her company duties. Now, the truth was starkly clear. Her brief appearances were mere interludes between her dates with Eric, a charade to maintain appearances for a few fleeting moments. I couldn't bear the thought of anyone witnessing my broken state. I traced the cool plaster of the wall, guiding myself towards the staircase. Each step down the long hospital stairs sent a jolt of agony from my fractured ribs, a persistent signal to stop. I clenched my lip, the metallic taste of blood a bitter reminder of my stubborn resolve to ascend, to demand answers. Perhaps the floor had just been mopped, for suddenly my foot slipped, a faint, sickening sound emanating from my ankle as I crashed onto the unforgiving ground. In that instant, a vivid memory surged back. During a past year's physical examination, I had twisted my ankle, collapsing on the track. Tina had instantly broken through the concerned crowd, her lips tight with worry, urgently seeking someone to carry me to the medical office. The entire way she had gently massaged my injured ankle, her fear for my pain palpable. The doctor had advised caution with movement, and Tina had immediately taken charge of my daily commutes, our lives intertwined for those 16 or 17-year-old days, a constant 3-point journey between school, home, and the bus stop. In my memory, our youthful connection shone like a bright comet streaking across the night sky. Yet those once brilliant years now felt strangely distant, as if we were mere strangers. Supporting myself against the wall, each upward step sent a sharper, more insistent jab through my injured ankle, until finally I reached the top floor and found the heavy iron door leading to the rooftop. Tina, the car accident, it really was just an accident. This is all my fault. I noticed there was an issue with the brakes the day you used the car, but with all that was going on, I completely forgot to tell you. The gentle female voice, filled with pity, sought to comfort the person before her, soothing them as one would a distressed child. I could almost visualize the heartbroken expression in her eyes at that moment. "Forget it," came the reply, dismissive and cold. "What's done is done. If anyone's to blame, it's just Ben's bad luck." Their murmured words of young love soon transitioned into the muffled sounds of restrained yet breaking passion, whispers thick with lingering affection. The escalating fear of dying in the car crash still resonated within me, my entire body trembling. Each breath was a sharp, agonizing cut through my chest. I had gone blind, broken 3 ribs, and all I received was the dismissive label of bad luck from her. Her betrayal felt far more terrifying than the encompassing darkness. I pushed open the heavy iron door and stepped out onto the rooftop, frustrated by my inability to even discern their location in my blindness. I wanted to scream, to release the pent-up anguish, to confront Tina with her treachery, but the words caught in my throat, leaving only a choked, pathetic sob. In my frantic attempt to escape, a sudden forceful shove from behind sent a searing pain through my already injured foot. With a couple of staggering steps, I found myself plummeting into the vast emptiness. As my soul detached from my shattered body, I saw Tina rush to the scene. A crowd gathered around her, pushing and shoving desperately. When her eyes finally landed on my twisted form, she froze, then staggered back a few steps. I watched her expression shift from a blank void to a cold rigidity, the muscles in her cheek twitching uncontrollably as she surged forward, as if something within her had snapped. Eventually she collapsed at my feet, my warm blood seeping over her pristine skirt where she knelt, causing her to tremble as if burned. As I watched her face contort into an expression of profound sorrow, a fleeting thought crossed my awareness. Perhaps Tina did care about me after all. "Tina, the dead can't return. Please accept it and move on," Eric urged, attempting to pull her away. But she violently jerked his hand off, stumbling back a few steps, her knuckles white as she gripped the ground, glaring at Eric with raw resentment. Some in the crowd offered hollow words of consolation, urging her to accept it and move on, while others whispered about the depth of her emotion. But it was as if Tina couldn't hear them. Her hunched back trembled as she anxiously attempted to correct my dislocated limbs or wipe the blood from my face, her efforts futile. She squeezed her eyes shut, the overwhelming grief threatening to drown her, unable to bear the sight of my unavenged gaze. Her hand drew back helplessly, her face deathly pale, her voice a mere raspy whisper. "Ben, I'm sorry. Damn it! It should have been me. Why wasn't it me?" This belated display of affection meant less to me than the dirt beneath my feet. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the familiar college basketball court. Standing in the middle of the court was a tall, familiar figure. Tina, my love from that past life. She had been waiting under the scorching sun for nearly half an hour. Her first love had just rejected her carefully planned confession, and a small crowd of classmates had gathered to witness the spectacle, some mocking her for her naivete, others pitying her for her unwavering focus on a single, unattainable person. Then someone in the crowd made a snide remark. "Ben, don't you like Tina? Maybe now is your chance while she's freshly single." Laughter rippled through the small gathering. Her gaze slowly fell upon me, her dark eyes sparkling with an emotion I couldn't quite decipher. At this point in time, she hadn't yet acquired the calm and self-assured demeanor that came with the wealth of her later life. Her expression held a distinct pride, with a barely perceptible hint of ambition lurking beneath the surface. In the past, I had been drawn to that pride in her eyes, always perceiving it as a unique coolness that set her apart. Thinking about it now, it seemed almost laughable. She was just an ordinary person. It was my affection that had cast a glow around her. In my last life, I had felt a surge of sympathy for her being ridiculed, and a special feeling had blossomed within me. I had confessed my feelings right there and then, metaphorically picking up her trampled heart from the mud, placing it alongside my own before her, offering her all the dignity and validation she seemed to crave. But given another chance, I would have rather seen her crushed by the cruel whispers on the court, just as Tina confidently turned, expecting my usual supportive presence. Someone parted the small crowd. It was Eric. He had returned, sweating profusely and out of breath. He took a deep, dramatic breath and placed a possessive arm around Tina, glaring at me fiercely. "Tina is mine. Give up already." I slowly smiled. It turned out I wasn't the only one who had been granted a second chance at life. In the last life, Eric had never ended up with Tina. He had planned to exploit Tina's future fame and wealth to rescue his bankrupt father. But after my death, Tina had seemingly descended into a state of madness, selling the company we had painstakingly built together, worth billions, and donating all the proceeds to charity without keeping a single penny for herself. Eric had desperately gone to the apartment Tina and I had once shared, his fingers moving over the keypad with familiar ease. Under the dim light, he had found a disheveled woman cradling my photograph. Dead drunk. Eric had continuously pleaded, hoping sweet words could rekindle her lost affection. "Tina, look at me. I'm the one standing right here. Forget about him, all right? You liked me first back then." He had pulled out all the stops, but received nothing more than a self-deprecating look from her. "Back then, I built everything from scratch with him and faced hardships together. How could I have been swayed by someone as calculating as you?" Eric had kept arguing, desperately explaining. "It wasn't like that. My dad forced me to go abroad. I've always liked you, Tina. Rich or poor, my feelings for you haven't changed. We can rebuild the company. You have the talent and the gift. You can shine again." Tina had simply pushed him away, ignoring the shards of broken glass cutting into his skin, not even sparing him a glance. Eric had been furious, perpetually visiting my grave to curse me, claiming that even in death I wouldn't let him have peace, still clinging on to Tina's heart. The wealth and luxury I had enjoyed when alive should have rightfully been his, if only he hadn't rejected Tina back then. I had sat on my grave, amused as I watched the admirer who had once failed to capture her attention transform into a successful mogul within just a few short years. The once arrogant rich kid, who had known no troubles and carelessly trampled over the feelings of others, now found himself on the losing end, watching his past competition rise and desperately hoping to turn back time and reclaim what he had lost. How could there be such effortless gains in this world? Tina's success had been bought with my relentless labor. The sleepless nights spent securing funding, the tireless work perfecting project plans, all of it elevating her to the throne she now occupied, celebrated by so many. Without me, her proud and aggressive nature would have left her with nothing but scraps in the competitive business world. Eric couldn't hear my thoughts. His venomous gaze was fixed on my photograph, his face contorted beyond recognition with anger. If given another chance, he had sworn he would never let go of Tina, and with this rebirth, he was determined to make sure of it. Eric grabbed Tina's hand, pulling her off the track. He plucked the dusty roses from the ground, patting them clean with a cocky, self-assured gesture. "Tina, from this day on, you're mine." The scene shocked everyone. Moments ago, he had been jeering at someone's lack of wealth, and then he suddenly sprang a kiss on her, staking his claim. Tina was visibly stunned, more confused than pleased, her eyes anxiously scanning her surroundings before finally landing on me. That look was painfully familiar. In the past, whenever she was troubled or indecisive, she would instinctively look to me for guidance. "Ben, there's a gathering tonight. Could you come with me? You know the project details better than I do." "The company is short of $1 million for its first round of funding, Ben. Could you try once more? The group's vice president liked you last time." Even now, I had stood by her side for years as her first love. The ties of childhood, the shared sentiments of growing up and overcoming struggles together, all those intimate nights. None of it had stopped her from so easily forgiving Eric when I was blinded in the car accident. A cold shiver ran down my spine as I wondered if both of them had played a part in pushing me off that building. Tina's gaze lingered on me for a fraction too long. Eric, a frown creasing his brow, stubbornly turned her face back towards him. This time, their kiss was both tender and intense. Cheers and applause erupted around us. I pressed my lips together, raised my eyebrows slightly, and clapped along with the crowd in congratulation, just as Eric had wished. Within days, almost everyone on campus knew that the school heartthrob had fallen hard for a plain Cinderella. He was with Tina every step of the way, whether it was in the lecture hall or the student cafeteria, their public displays of affection a constant presence. But Eric's parents were far from pleased. They confronted the two at the school gate. "Eric, come home with us. We've arranged for you to study abroad." "You want to date? Your dad knows many capable and well-bred girls. She's not right for our family. Not a good match for you." Eric noticed the low-pressure vibe emanating from the man next to him, and suddenly looked gloomy. "Dad, what are you talking about? Tina gets scholarships every year. She's amazing," Eric's dad sneered. "That little scholarship? Is it enough for a Michelin restaurant or your daily expenses? Don't lose your head over a woman. We've given you a good life. You should aim higher and not be stuck." Tina interrupted sternly. "Uncle, Eric isn't your ladder to climb higher. Our relationship is between us. It doesn't need your interference." After saying that, she took Eric by the hand and walked away. I stepped out from the shadow of a nearby tree, watching as Eric's father shook with barely contained rage. I walked up politely. Upon learning that I was Tina's classmate and childhood friend, his eyes flashed with disapproval. I pretended not to notice, trying to act like a love-lorn secret admirer desperately speaking up for the girl I liked. Tina's really had it tough. Her dad's a gambler and drunk. Her mom couldn't take the abuse and left when Tina was young. She works at a restaurant just to pay for school. Uncle, please let them be. She's a good girl. Eric's dad's gaze was sharp as a knife, his expression shifting. "Does her family have some violent streak too?" he asked. I quickly shook my head. trying to hide my rising panic. No, not at all. She had a run-in with the cops in high school, just some teenage impulsiveness. I tried to maintain my facade, but he didn't give me a chance. He dialed a number and furiously yelled into the phone, "If you want to throw your life away with someone like her, then forget I'm your father from today. All your credit cards are canceled, and you can't stay in your apartment. Let's see how long you last." Eric, shocked, stammered into his phone. "Dad, why can't you believe me? Tina's gonna be a big success. We'll all be asking her for help." But his dad wouldn't listen. Eric soon received texts confirming the cancellation of his cards. He was fuming. "No wonder you'll go bankrupt with that attitude. You'd squander any fortune." His words nearly gave his dad a heart attack, cursing both Eric and his mom, who typically doted on her son. "Try helping him behind my back, and you both can leave." Eric's mom soothed his dad cautiously, not daring to oppose him. Later that night, Eric burst into my dorm room, his eyes blazing with anger. "You messed with my folks, Ben. You're even lower than I thought. Don't think I'll leave Tina because of this. She'll always be mine while you're nothing." I closed my book calmly, facing the enraged guy. Maybe it was my composure, or the lack of jealousy he had expected, that got under his skin. Eric flaunted a bite mark on his neck, moving closer to boast. "Last night with Tina was wild. No one would guess what she's capable of." He paused, smirking with even more audacity, whispering a threat. "Stay away from her. What makes you think you can compete with me? Your measly paycheck after graduation? Or your useless adoptive father?" A thunderous revelation struck me, as if my hearing had been snatched away, leaving only a roaring silence. I had suspected Tina had feelings for Eric, but hadn't expected her to think of me in such a dismissive way. Clenching the pen in my hand, its sharp tip stabbed my skin, but I felt nothing. Under the harsh fluorescent light, I faced Eric. Maybe he finally saw the anger in my eyes he had been hoping for, because he looked thrilled. "Is it true? I never believed it," Eric scoffed. With a sudden movement, I pinned his hand to the table, driving the pen's tip forcefully into his palm forcefully. The tip broke off, blood seeping out vividly against his white skin. Eric yelped in pain. "Ben, are you crazy?" He picked up scissors, charged at me, pausing as others rushed in. I angled away, the blade grazing my neck. Blood dripped to my collarbone, staining the white shirt. I bit down on the pain, silent. A gentle hand pressed against the wound, and the onlooker glared at the attacker. "You better have an explanation." Eric, seeing the woman shielding me, froze. He meant to blame me for starting it, but remembered a past betrayal. "Tina, you're protecting him! I'm your boyfriend!" The touch at my neck was unnerving, so I avoided any contact with Eric. Tina frowned, concerned. "You okay?" I looked him in the eye, replied coldly. "Get out?" Tina's eyes froze for a second. She looked at me with such a complicated gaze, like she couldn't believe the boy she once had feelings for was talking to her in such a cold manner. A shiver ran down my spine. You know, Tina isn't all that different from most people. When she had nothing, all she cared about was making more money. But after she tasted the good life, her personal desires became the new goals. I never thought she really cared about Eric. It was probably just that teenage pride and a little bit of desire. She wanted everything, I guess. The cut on my neck looked scary but wasn't deep. Definitely not as bad as Eric's hand injury. After cleaning up, I went back to my desk, where a ton of code and formulas filled my laptop screen. A nearly finished game script stared back at me. Then my email notification popped up. It was feedback from the tech company I applied to a few days ago. As expected, I scored an interview with one of the top gaming companies in the country. I knew Tina applied there too. In the previous life, because I helped her revamp her initial game model, her work was shown during the interview, ranking just behind me out of 20 others. This time I was curious to see how far she'd get without my help. My phone screen lit up suddenly. I ignored the call almost instinctively, cutting it off. Whoever it was kept trying. When I blocked the number, they resorted to texting. Ben, do you have a heart? Mom's seriously ill. It's bad enough you can't help, but can't you at least come for a visit? The message was from my sister, not by blood. Her tone was anything but kind. I don't think she's ever called me Big Brother. Not that I cared. That family wasn't a real family to me, more like a toxic pit of vampires. In my past life, my foster parents were both healthy. They were still kicking when I died. But now Linda claimed her mom was sick. It had to be another one of Eric's tricks because he was mad that I outshined him. Eric and my sister, they always plotted. They couldn't outsmart anyone, but undermining me, yeah, that was their game. I couldn't help but laugh, which caught my roommate's attention. He was more pissed about Eric's dorm antics than I was. Did he come here acting all high and mighty? I used to think he had high standards because of how he treated his followers. Turns out he's got no taste falling for Tina. I said nothing, and he stopped himself. He forgot I was the biggest fool of all in the past. I sure was blinded, literally got hit, then fell to my death. I was left a mess because of those two awful people. If the universe gave me a second chance, I wasn't about to waste it. Karma's definitely coming for you, Eric. You'll see. Friday morning, I made a trip to the dingy apartment near the college. My foster parents rented a place to be close to their daughter, worried she wouldn't adapt to campus life. I pushed open the rusty gate, met with a rush of smoke and alcohol stench. The place was eerily silent, except for the hurried footsteps coming from the bedroom. Linda, with her bleached hair, appeared. Her look matched the worst parts of her parents' features. I caught a malicious glint in her eye. "The sun's crazy out there. You must be thirsty. Want a drink to cool off?" She offered a half-open soda like it was a royal gesture. I just glanced up, took it, but didn't sip. Wasn't she supposed to be gravely ill? "So, where's your mom now?" Linda's fake smile dropped instantly. "Ben, what's with that your mom crap? Don't forget your roots. Without my family taking you in, you'd have starved on the street 1,000 times over." Heard that line so much growing up, my ears were calloused. They couldn't have kids of their own, and thought taking in a kid with a compatible horoscope would solve it. Sure enough, they had Linda the next year and started looking at me like trash. If they weren't worried about bad karma from ditching me, or the annual government allowance, I would have been long gone. I always knew I wasn't loved at home, but I had hopes for family ties until that stormy night. The slap from my foster father and the cold stare from my foster mother made sure of it. If I hadn't stabbed the man and escaped, I would have stayed trapped under their shadow forever. I never went back after that, and they never gave me a dime after. Years later, once Tina and I had our company going, they shamed me publicly for not caring for them, never visited my grave after I died, just called me ungrateful, said I deserved to die young. Linda, being their real daughter, was no different. She shamelessly turned my death into a payday, blaming the hospital for neglect, and got paid handsomely. She used all the money to please Eric, leaving nothing for her parents. The memory of her face brings shivers. Linda seemed anxious about me not drinking, but her phone rang, and she quickly slipped inside, closing the door to take the call. I moved to the sink, dumping the soda into a corner bowl. When she came back out, I lay sprawled on the sofa, holding the empty bottle. She kicked my shoulder with her shoe and sneered, "You really thought you could let Eric get hurt, you lowlife? Today I'm going to strip you and record a video for the whole school to see," she said, turning to grab a camera from the cabinet. Just as she pulled the drawer open, she took a hard hit to the head. The room spun, and she passed out on the floor. The glass bottle smashed, and her phone hit the ground too. I picked it up, scrolled through the messages, and sent texts to Eric and my adoptive father. As expected, Eric was nearby and raced over. When he got my message, he barged in, already whining. "Why'd you take so long? Do you have any idea how hot it is out there? I'm sweating buckets!" Before he could finish, a stick slammed into the back of his knees, bringing him down with a painful thud and 2 sharp slaps to his face. Things happened too fast for Eric to react. Before he could shout, someone clamped his mouth and forced an unknown liquid down his throat. Coughing hard, teary eyes mixed with snot, he finally looked up to see me standing there. "What did you make me drink?" He backed away a few steps, glancing over and catching sight of Linda, unconscious on the ground, leaving him stammering in shock. I flipped the bowl on the table upside down, letting out a cold laugh. "Obviously, it's the good stuff you brought for me." The hazy feeling in his head clued Eric in that I wasn't messing around. Panic set in as he desperately tried to make himself throw up, but couldn't stop the growing dizziness and strange sensations. I dragged him into the bedroom, locking his hands and feet with cuffs. Linda never imagined the tools she brought would be used on her precious crush. By the time I made it to the company for the interview, the candidates had already filled up the corridor. Sure enough, I spotted Tina among the crowd. She was fiddling with the edge of her jacket, something she did when she was nervous. In our previous life, we started the company together, and the first investment we landed was from the group we were interviewing with today. Back then, we had just quit our jobs, fueled by enthusiasm and dreams of the future, vowing to create the best gaming company. She handled product design. I focused on market expansion. In the conference room waiting for the meeting, she was just as anxious as she was today. "Ben, what if they don't like our design or disagree with our vision? A year's work down the drain." I clasped her uneasy hands with confidence in my voice. "We'll succeed. Don't forget you promised to take me to see the northern lights in Iceland and sunbathe on a Barcelona beach." I don't know if my certainty reassured her, or if mentioning Iceland made her think of someone special, but Tina's eyes glazed over for a moment. Back then, I was oblivious, focused on the joy of a dream nearing fruition. 3 days earlier, a group contact had already approached me. He greatly valued my abilities and offered investment, but only if I outranked Tina and led as the company's main decision-maker. I didn't get it. Investors usually only care about returns. Why meddle with personnel choices? The rep was frank. "Then when you left the company, it was a loss. You're a rare talent, but Tina's not. At most, she's a standout among the ordinary. Her abilities and vision are limited. She's reached her peak. I know you guys are dating, and in the interview you probably helped her a lot, but there's a divide between ordinary and genius. You can help her short-term, but not forever." I didn't believe him. I pushed Tina forward despite the pressure and hid my meeting with the group contact to avoid hurting her pride. Looking back now, I was foolish. Her betrayal and infidelity made me a joke to others and shattered my faith in love. It was like holding a useless umbrella and still getting drenched. Tina spotted me from a few meters away and walked over. Her eyes were bright, and noticing the cut on my neck, she asked awkwardly, "Does it still hurt?" Ignoring her concern, I shot back, "What about Eric? Aren't you two inseparable? How come he's not backing you on this big interview?" Tina looked stunned, then dropped her gaze with a slight furrow in her brow. "He's an art student. He wouldn't get it. It couldn't help me. Unlike you, you always gave me so much inspiration for my designs." Her words seemed to trigger something, flooding her with memories. I never knew she liked talking so much. I gave a self-deprecating smile. "Ben, are you listening?" Her voice was a bit hoarse. I silently stared at her, finally speaking calmly. "Tina, did you tell Eric about how my adoptive father almost beat me up?" Her breathing hitched, And after a pause, she confessed. He asked me first. I don't know how he found out. Where else would he have learned that? Maybe 10 years down the line, in a post-coital chat, they had a casual talk. Or Eric might have been whining, and Tina brought it up as a joke. Though I had suspected it, hearing her confirm it made my chest ache like an ice pick through my heart. Not because of her, but because of those pathetic 10 years I wasted, making me the butt of the joke. As the interview was about to start, Tina got a call. Her expression changed as she suddenly prepared to leave, but she stopped when her name was called by HR staff. Her expression showed deep conflict. I smiled. Is it someone important? The company hires every year. You'll get another chance. Don't leave regrets. The spark in Tina's eyes ignited instantly. Of course. A single interview couldn't outweigh Eric's safety. If she got Eric's parents' approval, she'd have no worries climbing up in the future. Any hesitation gone, Tina gave up the interview and rushed off in the direction I'd come from. Grabbing my documents, I walked into the conference room, listening to the deep voice of the man leading the meeting. Due to a strategic realignment, this will be Far-Light Group's last recruitment drive. Congrats on catching the final train. With a job offer from the new company, I returned to campus, where rumors had spread like wildfire. Tina got into a fight over the campus heartthrob. By the time cops and an ambulance arrived, the place was packed. Everyone was spreading rumors like they saw it with their own eyes. Word is, when the person was carried out, they were unconscious and covered in blood. The scene was a mess, sheets everywhere. Eric claimed he was drugged, but the woman said Eric made the first move. When the police took statements, no one's story matched up. Whether Eric was into it or not wasn't clear, but Tina's assault, that was a sure thing. No idea if she's getting expelled for that. When I got to the hospital, my stepdad was already awake. He had a broken rib and leg, lying there like a dead fish. My stepmom was sobbing, almost passing out, cursing Eric and Tina, demanding justice. Linda hid in the corner, too scared to even make a peep. As soon as I walked into the room, Linda made a beeline for me, grabbing my collar, looking furious. It was you! You did this, didn't you? Her commotion caught the cop's attention by the door, so she let go. I straightened my shirt and whispered with a mocking tone, Yeah, I did it. Go ahead, tell the cops. Tell them how you and Eric planned to mess me up, how you got those drugs. Linda's eyes were red, her fists clenched, shaking with rage. But she didn't argue back, just breathing heavily. I gave her shoulder a little pat, in a tone full of fake sincerity. Sis, come on, we're family. Dad's hurt. Just look at the medical bills, thousands a day. Maybe you should talk to Eric. Settle this quietly. Our family won't go after him and Tina for assault if he wants to let things die down. Linda was torn, her gaze shifting towards our father, angry and lost. She blamed him for breaking her heart, but also herself for not stopping the chaos in time. But if Dad ended up humiliated, how would her life turn out? Finally, she made up her mind and cornered Eric on his way back to school. She thought she'd have to argue, but to her surprise, the guy instantly agreed, asking only that the complaint against Tina be dropped. Linda had mixed feelings. Even though he was forgiving, it didn't make her feel any better. You really like her that much? What's so special about her for you to make such a sacrifice? She asked. Eric's face grew dark. It's not like he didn't want to skin Ben alive, but what can he do if the police pursued it? It would reflect badly on him too. Damaging them would hurt him. Why bother? Tina's future was as bright as the sun. She couldn't have this blemish, couldn't get expelled. So what if he had to take the heat now? When Tina makes it big, stepping over these folks would be a cakewalk. That time isn't far off. Tina's a genius. After graduation and with a company, success awaits. Why get tangled with folks beneath notice? She's got a bright future. The scandal ended with both families making peace. Eric publicly said he was out of it, from mixing meds with booze, just a big misunderstanding. Even though Tina wasn't legally responsible anymore, she still broke school rules by injuring someone. She wasn't expelled, but got a serious note on her record, and both her scholarship and spot in the national tech competition were revoked. When the director handed me the competition form, I happily signed. "Thanks, Prof. I'll make the school proud." "The school wanted you from the start. Don't know why you were pushing for Tina," the director said. "Now it's back on you. Don't let us down." Last time around, fate didn't favor me. Tina shone in the competition, earning plenty of opportunities. She was proud for a long time, thinking she matched me. Even years later, Tina flaunted this win when she became celebrated. It was her only win over me, even though I didn't compete. She thought the school didn't recognize my talent. While at the Capitol for the school competition, my roommate kept me posted about Tina and Eric's whereabouts. Unable to handle rumors, they moved out and got a place together. Eric continued his lavish lifestyle, refusing any reduction in his living standards. To keep him happy, Tina skipped legit internships for a bar gig, coming home late to their cramped apartment. Her efforts earned her criticism instead of gratitude. "How can you earn sleazy cash like this? Aren't you a computer science major? Start a company, make games, hit it big," Eric yelled. "Do you want to be stuck in this hole like your parents?" Tina's expression was stormy. "Sleazy?" It broke her exhaustion and frustration, plus being cheated on without complaint erupted. "Since when was I a pauper?" she snapped. "This sleazy cash paid for my high school and got me to college. If you look down on my parents, why get with me? Remember on the court, you said I wasn't good enough, and then changed your mind." She seemed to suddenly remember something, a flicker of confusion crossing her eyes. "Was it because of Ben?" Once doubt starts creeping in between people, trust crumbles faster than a volcanic eruption. Eric grabbed Tina's hand, flustered and at a loss for words, desperately trying to explain himself. "Of course not. I only refused back then to test you, Tina. You're so talented. Don't waste it in unworthy places. Don't worry about money. I'll figure something out. You just focus on your startup." They hugged again, but this time each had their own thoughts. During this time, Eric's parents tried several times to bring their son back home. Eric refused firmly, even when his dad threatened to cut him off, or when his mom cried like she was about to kneel. He was determined to nurture this potential no matter what happened. The first game I made launched successfully with the help of another company and received great feedback. As soon as it hit the market, the number of downloads increased sharply. Utilizing the experience from my past life and an understanding of the young generation's psyche, the success of the new game was expected. But when the first payment came through, I was so excited I couldn't sleep all night. Even though my net worth in my previous life was way beyond that, even when I later received trivial monthly checks to simulate the joy of a wage earner, I never felt as delighted. Gazing at my account balance as I did now, from now on, every penny I earn won't be split with Tina. I am me, she is her, and nobody would link our names together anymore. I have countless ideas and designs in my head, whereas she, burdened with consequences, missed one opportunity after another with Eric, who dreamed of wealth every day. How far could she really go? Winning the national design competition brought honor to the school, adding a prominent mark to my resume, and the top resources of the academy were all directed towards me. Just as I was apartment hunting, a spacious 3-bedroom facing south with great sunlight and views, I got a congratulatory message from the vice president of Far Light Group. The key was this area would be redeveloped into Commercial Street within a few years, tripling in value. Linda somehow found out about my house purchase and, with her adoptive parents, blocked me at the company entrance. Turns out Eric was broke, but couldn't shake his habit of spending lavishly, treating her like an ATM for Tina. Not wanting to lose face in front of her god, Linda borrowed heavily across various platforms and eventually even high-interest loans, snowballing into a debt of $50,000. Debt collectors came knocking, threatening to cut fingers if it wasn't repaid in 3 days. Her adoptive parents saw her as their hope for the future and couldn't bear seeing her crippled, so they set their sights on me. Ben, buying a house secretly and not telling your family, quickly transfer it to your sister's name and hand over $50,000 to help repay the debt. I laughed coldly, looking at them as if they were strangers. Sister, didn't you cancel the adoption when I was 18, knowing the state wouldn't support grown orphans anymore? They tried to make more of a fuss, but got escorted out by security. To my surprise, her adoptive family was so frightened by the debt collectors, they went into hiding. Having everything of value taken away, out of options, her adoptive father kidnapped Eric, hoping his parents would pay up to bail him out. Unfortunately, Eric's family was already swept up in a debt crisis, with all assets seized and auctioned by the court. In my past life, Eric's dad kept up the pretense a little longer by sending him abroad with laundered money. This time, Eric's stubbornness sped up the downfall of the Ado family. When her adopted father, desperate, stole a car from a repair shop intending to kidnap Eric, he found nothing but Eric's parents' bankruptcy announcement. In anger, he vented it all on Eric. After a night of torment, Eric saw a chance at dawn, attempting a getaway in a car with failed brakes, crashing straight into a bridge barrier. The next time I saw him was half a month later. Eric, who had been in a coma for 2 weeks, finally woke up, now paralyzed from the waist down, bound to a wheelchair for life. As I stood at the hospital room door, listening to his cries, I recalled waking from my coma in my past life, only to be told my eyes were irreversibly damaged, never to see the light again. My feelings mirrored his exactly. Karma works in mysterious ways. He's paying for his past life sins. As I was about to leave, I overheard a conversation between Eric and Tina in the room. Your crippled legs are your karma. The woman's voice was chillingly cold, possessing the authority only someone who's been through countless storms could have. From just one sentence, I knew she was different now. I stopped in my tracks, one thought flashing brilliantly in my mind, emotions flooding over like a storm in my heart. Sure enough, Eric had a part in my death too. Just losing a leg wasn't enough. If before, I had even the slightest hesitation about this life's Tina, it disappeared completely from that moment onward. From then on, Tina started appearing frequently around me, like she was obsessed. She'd wait at my house, my office, everywhere I usually went, from dawn until dusk, from late fall to the winter solstice. Seeing her lost and desolate expression in the pouring rain reminded me of the last life, when not long after my death, she cried with regret at my grave, kneeling in the rain, praying for another chance. Overlapping images, I let out a mocking laugh, feeling like my eyes were just getting dirtier. A few days later, a disheveled woman caught Tina's arm, crying hysterically outside my company building. It was Tina's mother, who had abandoned her in her youth to run off with another lover. You could say that her inferiority and pride stemmed entirely from this woman. In the last life, I knew about her yearning for her mother deep down. I went to a lot of trouble to track her down, only to get in a major car accident on my way back. When Tina saw the woman, she froze, her eyes red and focused on the other, but her hoarse voice couldn't call out those 2 words. The woman was clearly emotional too, but her eyes didn't hold the joy of a reunion. Instead, they looked like a soul cast into hell, longing for the living daughter. Save your brother. He's my life. Tina's mother's younger son from her second marriage was lying in the hospital with kidney failure, urgently needing a transplant. After multiple searches, She couldn't find any trace of Tina. Just as she was about to give up, I found her. Not only did I give her money for medical bills, but I also provided Tina's address. Naturally, she treated me like a saint. Seeing her mother for the first time in years, she wasn't asked how she'd been all this time. Instead, she was asked to donate her kidney to a brother she'd never met. For the proud Tina, who longed for motherly love, it was more torturous than 1,000 cuts. I knew how troublesome that woman could be. Whether to repay the debt of giving birth or to break this cursed connection, Tina's kidney would be donated no matter what. After waking up from the anesthesia, Tina saw me waiting in the operating room and got excited, trying to sit up. I glanced at her, holding a booklet of post-surgery precautions. The doctor said donating a kidney can damage kidney function. Your immunity and metabolism will be worse from now on. Tina was silent for a long time, and then whispered, "It's okay." I chuckled lightly. "That's right, not much difference. It's all karma." Tina in front of me looked at me, the emotions in her eyes like tangled threads, until they suddenly found the end, and she was wide awake. "Ben!" Tears welled up instantly, filled with regret. I'm so sorry." Her voice shook fiercely, chest rising and falling rapidly, reaching out to touch me. I stood there like watching a comedy, repeating, "Don't touch me, dirty." Tina's voice was so dry it failed her. She shut her eyes in pain, my words reopening the past she couldn't face. "You won't forgive me, right?" I looked at her coldly, the mockery in my eyes almost overflowing, pushed open the door, and walked straight out. Soon, alarms blared behind me. Doctors and nurses rushed into the patient's room when they heard, as her post-op emotional surge caused her to faint again. The wind was strong on the hospital rooftop. I leaned back on a deck chair, waiting for Eric to wake up. In just a month, it seemed like Eric had aged 10 years, and he looked severely underweight. With no money for a caregiver, hospital bills constantly overdue, the nurse didn't bother to hide her disdain. From a groggy sleep, he blinked his eyes open to see his legs dangling stories above the ground. Shivering all over out of fear, throat hoarse like a duck, wanting to cry out but scared to use any force, terrified of falling to his death. "You're awake? The view from the rooftop is nice. No wonder you and Tina liked having secret meetings here." The moment Eric turned his head and saw me, he froze. It's you." I nodded, resting my chin on my hand, eyeing him. Is me surprised? In a flash, memories poured in, and Eric, like a moth stepping into a trap, finally realized the danger when caught in the spider's web. "You tricked me. You always remembered your past life. You turned me into this ghost of a person. You wanted to hog Tina. Her time was never enough for you in the last life, and now you want to fight me for her again?" I impatiently rubbed my ear and pushed the wheelchair a bit forward, the annoying voice quieting significantly. "Tina's in the ER downstairs. If she makes it, I'll be at your wedding." I meant it sincerely, but Eric didn't believe me. "What did you do to Tina? Are you crazy? Without her, you'll be broke." This whole life felt like he'd told a joke. "How could I? I got a car, a house, a bright future. My new company's getting approved next month. First round funding of $1 million already in, sanctioned by my old company. Didn't you know?" "No way! No way!" Eric screamed, tearing his hair, forgetting his crippled legs, reaching to attack me but falling to the ground. His head hit, bleeding profusely, and he passed out. Linda visited Eric a few times in the hospital and then took him home. The guy she once idolized is now in this state, and Linda doesn't feel a bit of sympathy. His foster dad got arrested for kidnapping and abuse, and his foster mom disappeared, afraid debt collectors would come knocking. Eric thought Linda still had feelings for him, and that she brought him back to take care of him, feeling a bit smug about it. but he was totally blindsided when one night a group of people stormed into the house. Linda humbly accepted a stack of cash from them and then turned Eric over. Much later on, I learned from Linda herself, who had been caught by the police, that she sold Eric to the circus. In that place, disabilities are a money-making gimmick, and slightly attractive oddities get even more attention from the crowd. When I left the police station, the sun was shining bright. My future seemed like cold light meeting the brilliant sun, and my heart felt like a plant turning towards the light, ready to grow.